talking about microprocessors in specifically here, which over the last few years have been given this new functionality which allows them to go out and guess what might be coming next. And that functionality really, really speeds them up. But at the same time, apparently it's created this vulnerability whereby they might actually inadvertently access areas of the data that you really wouldn't want them to. So, you know, kind of swings and roundabouts here. But Intel is saying, not just us, not a flaw. This is something that the whole industry needs to address. There is clearly a gap. The original accusation was this is an Intel-specific problem, that companies like AMD, whose stock went up today, don't produce products that are vulnerable to this. If you take Intel's statement at face value, and you have to say that you must do that because the names of other companies are in there, the names of companies like ARM have come out and sort of endorse what they said. This is a fundamental feature of microprocessors across the industry which has created this issue. There have been no reports that anybody has actually taken advantages of this potential sort of gap to sneak in and do anything malicious, and therefore this is kind of a preventative step. However, what you also have to remember is one of the big selling points that companies like Intel have been making has been saying, look, trust us, hardware is much more secure, all of this software that you load onto your phone, you load onto your computer, always causing problems, but our chips are rock solid, no problems. We have these trusted zones, they have all of these marketing terms for what they do with their chips, and the fundamental thing has been that hardware is better than software when it comes to security. This today would seem to indicate that's not the case.
And that report was by Ian King of Bloomberg. Let's now localize the situation and find out how dangerous it is to Ghanaian businesses, as Sarah Josu finds out from Multimedia's ICT expert, Kobe Nkrumah.
News came in yesterday that researchers have found a bug in the processors that run the world's computers and smartphones. And today, I have with me Kobe Spikey, one of the geeks in multimedia, to take us through all the processes and what this issue means for businesses here in Ghana as well. Kobe, what exactly is the issue?
Okay, so some researchers found out that there's a bug found in the processor, which is what most people refer to as the CPU, the central processing unit of the computer. And this basically handles all the calculations, all the processing in the computer. And then there's a place in this chip that you see here, that's the processor. This is an Intel chip, which is the one that's mainly affected by these bugs. There's a place where sensitive information like passwords, security questions, credit card information are stored. And this bug allows normal programs to access that area on the chip. So, I mean, there's no cause to panic. The software manufacturers are going to provide a patch to patch this bug, but there's speculation that it's going to affect the performance of the computers up to about 30% decrease in performance. But that's just speculation. It's not official yet. And there's also word that people who have the latest models of the CPUs or the processors are not going to be suffering from this performance decrease as much as those using a older processors. So, I mean, it's a good time to upgrade if you haven't upgraded in a while.
Okay, so if I run a business here in Ghana and I have most of these old CPUs around, what does it mean for me as a business owner or as a business or a brand if any of the CPUs we are using is buggy?
What it means is that you have to make sure that your softwares are up to date, because software manufacturers like Windows, Google, Linux, Apple, they're all going to be releasing updates and patches to, you know, clear up this bug. And if you don't update, you're going to be vulnerable. And being vulnerable means that any hacker who attacks you can get all this secret information that you have on your computer. So if you say you store very sensitive information like your bank details, your passwords and all that on your computers, you really have to update when the patches come out. And if you do feel that your performance is decreased after this update, then you should upgrade your computer.
So can you say for a fact that computers in Ghana are affected by this bug?
Computers all over the world are going to be affected by this bug. This goes back about 15 years. So computers right from then till now are going to be affected. So, I mean, the good news is it's going to cause for the chip manufacturers to change the way they manufacture these chips. So moving forward, we don't think that this is going to happen again. But till then, we're going to benefit from decreased prices in these chips because everybody knows that they're exploitable. So now you have to reduce it. A lot of people, I don't think people are going to even be buying computers as soon as now because they are going to be expecting that the fix is going to be released first. So for now, things are going to drop. The prices are going to drop. So if you're in the market looking for a computer, that's the best time to get one.
So you believe it's going to impact on the trade of computers in this country as well?
If the news spreads and people panic, they're going to hold up on buying computers. So the sales are going to drop. So when the sales drop, naturally prices are going to drop because they are going to have to incentivize people to come and buy. That means that the consumer is going to benefit.
Okay. So what exactly is the role of this processor? Can any computer do without the processor?
No. The processor is the brain. Without it, your computer is basically a dumb piece of silicon sitting down there.
And you also mentioned the issue of storing passwords. And is there any other option? Where else can we store our passwords, if not on the computer?
You don't store the passwords. It's the computer that decides where to put it.
Okay.
So you wouldn't even know where your passwords are being stored. Mm-hmm. The computer finds out, okay, this is a secure location which has been assigned to passwords. Let me go put it there. Aha. So it has this kind of, supposed to have this security around it. But it wasn't foreseeable. Okay. Yes, and it's a thing with computers. Sometimes you think that it's a timing thing. It's a cash thing. It could easily happen without them realizing it. So it's not something that they foresaw.
So going forward, what can businesses do to safeguard your information from these baggy processors, baggy sites, and the likes?
Normally, we advise people not to store sensitive information on your computers. If you do, you can encrypt it further to provide yourself with more security.
And when you say encrypted, what exactly is that?
That's when you're using like an encryption software. It's like putting something in a safe. Okay. But here's the problem. That same password that is going to be on that safe is in that same place on the chip which is being exploited. You understand? Aha. So basically you don't store your stuff on your computer. But I mean, it was bound to happen anyway.
So what would you advise computer users to do going forward?
If you have passwords or sensitive information stored on your computer, now's the best time to delete them. And if you can memorize them, you need to do that. Or if you can write them and put them in a safe, physical safe, for now, yes. That's the best way to do it.
Okay, Kobe, thanks so much. So we heard from Kobe Spikey, who's one of the geeks here in multimedia. So this is good advice to you out there who uses a computer. Safeguard your information so you don't get affected by all these backs. Reporting for Joy Business, Sarah Josu.